have tea, we'll talk. Good morning. I am today sitting in my studio. It is 9 o'clock in the morning and it is only 9 degrees and it is raining. We have had sun for quite a few days, but I think it'll be sunny later today, but not this morning. So today I thought that I would talk to you about my settings and answer a question that I'm asked an awful lot actually, and that is how many of my settings are fact, actually do exist, or what are the ones that are fictionalized. So I think I tend to set most of my real places are in my historicals, for example. So I've been very honoured that people have actually come to the island to visit locations from as far afield as America, which absolutely staggered me and thrilled me, obviously. And so I think with historical fiction, because it is historical, and obviously an historical novel is not a textbook, so you need to ground the reader in the story, but also in the sense of time. And I like to do that as well. One of the ways of doing that, obviously it's dress, it's speech, it's things that happen, tiny little details in the background, that sort of are in the book, but it's also locations, I think, in some cases. And for example, my next book coming out, that's Neighbours at War. It's my second one set during the occupation, and I mention various places. So I tie in, because it actually does work with the story, Florence Booth's home. So from that series that I wrote inspired by her life, and it's so her actual home during the occupation is in the story. It still exists, and a little cottage down the road I have used for the gardener, where his home. It's a little cottage that does exist, and if you go past there you will see which one it is, because I mention how a group of young people go there in the evening in one scene. Across the road is Coronation Park, which is a beautiful park that's open to the public, that was given to the island of Jersey by Florence Booth in memory of her husband. And that is across from where her home is, and you can visit there. And various places like that. We also had the Glass Church, which is an astounding place. It's a church, again, that Florence Booth, in memory of her husband, had not redecorated, I can't think of the word, redone, remodeled. It's a very plain and simple church. It is filled with René Lalicque's work. Now, if you know Lalique crystal, which is something I've loved since the 80s, the windows, the altar, the font, the lights, so much of this place is Lalique crystal. It's St Matthew's Church. We call it the Glass Church here on the island. And how that survived the occupation, when you know that you had Nazi officers billeted pretty much across the road in Florence Booth's home during the occupation. She wasn't here during the occupation. They took over her home and while she was away. And to think that they lived there and passed this places, so it's on a main road all the time, and still that beautiful Lalique wasn't taken, it wasn't damaged. It's fantastic. So those sorts of things are in the book. In my Neighbours at War, the home where my main character lives with her aunt is actually where my great-grandmother lived during the occupation, and next door, the neighbour's home, the Hamill's home, is where my great-aunt lived during the occupation. So those two places actually don't exist anymore. They were knocked down probably 20 years ago, and they've been made into flats now, which is sad, but I did get to see them, not inside, but I did get to see the properties. So to keep these places alive, I have used them in my book. And for example, so that's, with An Island of War, you have so many places. Again, I talk about Gron. There's a scene up at Gron. Now, Gron is headland. It's very beautiful. There was a lot of German activity there in the war. There's a radio station, there's bunkers, many bunkers. You can see them. It's open to the public. It's where I walk my dogs often. But further along from that, it's near our racecourse, and there's Gron Castle, and it's not a castle, it's ruins. And there's an archway that's left still. And to me, it looks like a heart. I've actually used the image on a previous cover for one of my Georgina Troy books. But that, if you go there, certainly in the evening, you can see across the channel, the light is just extraordinary. And it's so beautiful. Right now, we have the yellow gorse, and we'll have the purple heather coming up in the next couple of months. It's a very beautiful place and well worth a visit. And you'll see that in Island War. In Poppy Sisters, one of the sisters is a nurse in the prison of war camp, La Blanche Banque, down at St. Wansbay. So that is depicted in that book. Now, the prison of war camp doesn't stand anymore. That was from the First World War, so obviously over 100 years ago now. But again, it's open to the public. It's a site of special interest. It's at the base of sand dunes. It's very beautiful, and across the road from Le Bray Cafe. So it's a lovely little cafe that's been there certainly since the 60s. And that's right by the beach. So when I was researching the book, I mean, I walk my dogs occasionally anyway, but I actually stopped. I found remnants of parts of the prison of war camp, so it could ground me in the place, and like standing there where the camp used to be, and imagine I was one of those soldiers or the nurse, and looked out towards the beach. Now you can't see the beach so much probably because there's another sand dune in the way, but that view won't have changed, apart from the cafe clearly, but that view won't have changed, and behind you with the sand dunes, that view won't have changed. And it's quite incredible, really, to think that I can stand somewhere where over 100 years ago there were several thousand prisoners. And that, again, helps ground my book in my mind. It also certainly helps bring it alive, the story alive to me. I do apologise if you can hear strange sounds. I have 3 dogs in here at the moment, and one of them is snoring. Hope it doesn't get too loud. I'll apologise in advance. So with my contemporary romances, my Georgina Troy books, my most recent one is Welcome to Hollyhock Farm. This is actually a brand new series, and it came out the other day. And with that, so that's set on a farm. Now, the farm is a fictional farm. The village is a fictional village. So that is, strange enough, my contemporary romances will have real settings. So now which ones are they? I can't think because changed their names. My Sunshine Island books, they are set in the east of the island, so that's along Gorey Pier. Now, Gorey Pier is a beautiful little pier with Victorian terraced houses, shops, that sort of thing. I imagine the shops there. There are restaurants there, but everything's got a different name. There's a flower shop in my series, but there isn't a flower shop actually on the pier. Behind the pier looms Montorgoy Castle, known locally also as Gorey Castle, because it's above Gorey Pier. And that pier looks out across the wide expanse of the Royal Bay of Greville, called the Royal Bay because Queen Victoria came in the 1800s, loved it so much, and she gave it her royal decree. So that is a real place, but with fictional businesses on it. And I love doing that. It really gives, as I said, a sense of place. Obviously, the places around it, the views, the beaches my characters go to, those all exist. And I do give the real names for all of those. It's just the homes. For example, Hollyhock Farm in my Welcome to Hollyhock Farm book, and the next book that I'm currently editing at the moment, that is a fictional farm, but it's a farm made up from me seeing many farms wherever you drive here, the most beautiful granite farmhouses with granite barns. It's not hard to imagine one that looks exactly how you want it to look, because there are so many here in various different guises, and it's really, really very useful actually. So it inspires a romance, I think. It's a beautiful island, and there are so many places. When you think it's only 9 miles by 5, this place, I have not run out of places to set scenes, have romantic settings yet. And I've written 28 books, and all of them are, apart from 2 actually, all of them are set here, either wholly or partially. So yeah, so yes, so my historicals, I have more real settings. My contemporary romances, I have the real beaches, but the actual places where the homes, that sort of thing, they are generally fictionalized. So I hope that answers a few questions. Please ask me anything that you like. I'm always happy to talk more about my books, my settings, my writing process. And I suppose now I'd better get back to my edits. So I'm Deborah Carr. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon.